All right, and we are live for the 30th Campfire. I have the immense pleasure to welcome Victor to the show. Hey, Victor, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Ludo?
I'm very good despite the weather here. So the thing is, we are almost neighbors. You live, I think, like 20 miles away from me, between Bellevue to Everett, and I actually see sunshine, a little bit of sunshine today, but it's been horrendous. I mean, right? Let me put it this way: the weather so far here.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little bad sometimes.
yeah. Well, we're not here to talk about the weather, of course. We're here to talk about your journey into tech. You have a very interesting journey, and actually you joined New Camp as an instructor, I think 9 months ago. So we'll go over that. Everyone joining us right now, you're probably listening to us on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, and we're going to take your questions. So if you have any questions for me about New Camp or anything, or to Victor asking how he went through this journey into tech, you can use the chat right here. We're going to see it, and you can also, if you want, to join us using your phone or your computer. If you follow this link right here, newcamp.co/dial-in, url.newcamp.co/dial-in, you'll be joining us on this stage. Switch on your mic, switch on your camera, and you'll be with us, and you'll be welcome to ask any questions that you may have. Kind of call in or dial into your local radio show and radio host. That's the spirit. Um, and yeah, we have Daya Monik. Oh, hey, Daya. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. That's the first time we've been bombed by negative comments. Interesting. Well, I don't know what to do with that. There we go.
I haven't had a negative experience.
No, and yeah, it's interesting. I think I remember what happened with Daya. Yeah, we try to provide really good environment for instructors. Um, and we have Samantha with us right now. Okay, so why don't you start, Victor, by telling us a little bit about yourself? Um, where did you start? I mean, where did you learn to code in the first place? When did
Yeah.
that happen?
Well, I come from, my dad is a database guy. So as a child, I was always kind of
Oh,
intrigued by computer science, right? When I was 12, we built our first computer together. It was like a father-son bonding thing. So deep down, when it comes to relation and correlation of computer science, it's very, very passionate for me because it's very close to the heart, right? And I think like for that, it kind of fosters that relationship, and makes it really nice and positive. So that's kind of like how I started. Um, I'm kind of a unique case, to be honest with you, because I went to school for computer information systems for network engineering, learned about
yeah.
Cisco and subnetting and all that stuff, and cybersecurities. And I ended up not liking it, and it wasn't necessary. It was just kind of the work that happens in computer cybersecurity, right? I wanted something that was a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative,
Yeah.
and so I took a class in college. It was Java. We didn't code at all, and the teacher just talked about algorithms and concepts, proof of concepts, and it didn't really hit it for me, but I ended up graduating college and I landed my first tech job at Sublime Media. It's the same company that I still work at. And I went into the interview and I remember the owner of the company, he's asked me, what do you know about HTML? What do you know about CSS? And I said, heck, I'm a driven, motivated, passionate individual. I don't know everything about it. I'm very a humble person, but I'll certainly learn. And so I started learning on Bootstrap 3, actually,
Oh, wow.
and it was many late nights of coding because I didn't have any resources, right? So it was like working until 12 o'clock at night, trying to move an object for hours from one side of the screen to the other. And that's kind of what brought me to New Camp, was that experience for me was important learning experience, absolutely, right? But I think if there's a way that we could facilitate the transfer of knowledge in a much more positive aspect, I think that's the way to go, right? Because
Yeah.
when you ask yourself, what are you going to leave when you leave this world, right? You've got children, you want to leave them with all your wealth and all your knowledge and stuff. And for me, it's like, what do I want to leave? Like, coding is not social work, right? So it's not very empowering in the aspect of you're like helping, social justice, or you're helping, like poverty. But really where it really is amazing is you can kind of give back and teach people that are midways in their life that want to expand their career, right? They're at a retail job or something like that, and they want to change directions, So
Let me actually step back. Let me.
yeah,
We're gonna go back to all the things you just talked about. I want to go back to your father
yeah,
being in the database space, and you kind of following his footsteps. I have to admit, I wish I could inspire my kids to code, and I
yeah,
think I'm failing at that personally.
yeah,
So I'm like, hey, look, my oldest is 17 years old now, and he's like, he's wondering what he's going to do with his life. I'm like, you should learn to code, and I'm not able to actually get him into that at all. So tell me, did your father like teach you to code, or how did you get inspired by it? Like, did you just watch him like handle databases, or how did it how did your father transmit that passion or that interest to you?
yeah. So for sure, I've always been a tinkerer. And so when we built the computer together, that was really what it was like. It's a relationship, just like you build your car with your dad or you go to the golfing range, right? So I think that was the positive aspect. My dad taught me SQL and
Oh yeah.
Microsoft Access. So
Oh,
which
that's
is
nice.
never, yeah, exactly.
But it's a good way
So
to start, right?
right, and he helped me kind of learn about, and it wasn't really much as much code, more so queries and more so just working in Windows, working with command line, working with
Yeah.
PowerShell. All that stuff is knowledge that is directly related to coding, but is maybe not always covered, right? Just like GitHub and stuff like that. So that's kind of like that's like what my dad taught me. But it also is, you don't know your career until I'm 33 years old, and I bounced around and I thought, I wanted to be an architect, and then I wanted to be a mechanic, and then I wanted to just make a decent wage. And then, I was in retail, right? So I didn't know about computer science and the need to be a front end dev until I got hired at Sublime Media. I just knew that I wanted to be in the computer science industry, that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
a good market. It's amping up, that it's going to
Mhm.
scale hugely, and it's going to pay really well, because we're at a unique time right now where we kind of
Hey,
demand our own wage.
let's bring. There's a few questions here. Let's actually answer some of those questions. Um, oh, Mike is just saying, yeah. So Irene, go Hawks,
Go
Seahawks,
Hawks.
go Hawks. I mean that the passion is not the same as a few years ago for the Hawks. To be honest with you, Irene used to be in the state as well and moved to Arizona. But I appreciate Irene the following up and kind of cheering for the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, maybe in another 10 years we'll win the Super Bowl. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll
At least
see.
I lived it, right? Like, at least
Yeah,
we got to see it,
yeah, we got to have it. Quick question from Terrell: does NewCamp partner with SkillsBridge? We actually do. We do. I think we're listed over there. The deal with SkillsBridge, this is an army program. So I think you have to be active in active duty, and you really have to talk to your CM, commanding officer, your CO, your commanding officer. That's the person who's gonna approve actually your SkillsBridge application. We've actually had several people being successful at that. So yeah, look it up. You probably have paperwork on your end to fill and make a pitch to your commanding officer. Yeah, there's been a few conversations on LinkedIn with Dia. I'm sorry that he feels that way. We'll probably try to connect with him and see how we can make it better for him. John Trush, what happens if one starts falling behind or just take longer to absorb the material? Maybe, Victor, maybe you can help answer that one. I mean, you've taught with us for about 9 months now,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to share your your rating is really top notch. 4.81 rating out of 5, which is
Yay.
amazing. Out of
Yeah.
221 surveys filled by students. So, and you teach mostly Bootstrap. I mean, the Bootstrap,
I
not the
do.
Bootstrap 3 that you first discovered,
Right.
but the
Yeah.
latest version. Uh, when you see a student starting to fall behind, what do you tend to say to that student? How do you help? What can we do overall as a new camp to offer help for that student?
Yeah, absolutely. My teaching style is interesting. The first thing I do, I mean, in order to be a positive and good instructor, you need to first and foremost empathize and sympathize with every individual, right? Because we've all been there. We've all been in their shoes, one way or the other. We've all been in school. We've all fallen behind, right? So it's an opportunity for me to, impact their learning environment in a one-on-one basis.
Yeah.
So if a student's falling behind, what I'll usually do is I'll reach out to that individual and I'll just let them know, hey, I noticed that there's some stuff that is not being completed. What can I do to make you successful? Because at the end of the day, that's why I'm here, right? I'm not here to, just talk out in space. I'm here to make these guys feel like that they're empowered through the power of coding, right? So I think that first acknowledging, sympathizing, and empathizing is the first step, and then working with that individual to get that individual caught up. I recently had a class where actually this last class I had an individual who was behind about a week and a half, and what I ended up doing was I ended up mapping out a schedule with that individual. So every
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I do a check-in. It would be a 30-minute check-in, and it would just be an opportunity for that person to be in a Zoom meeting without this kind of pressure of everybody else, and really kind of do that one-on-one time. And at the end of the day, when you look at that class and you look at the reviews, they're anonymous, but I know exactly what that individual's review is. And it was impactful for them, and it was positive, and they got caught up, right? So if someone, it's easy to fall behind for sure in coding because we are all working. This is a part-time commitment. So, I understand that we're not going to make this the number one priority in our lives,
Yeah.
right? But it's also important that we got to have this attitude of this leave no man behind, because when you hit the market and you become a developer, the stereotypical developer with bags of lays and introverts and non-communicative and hard to work with is just not real anymore.
Yeah.
Right. In my business currently, like I do a lot of consulting, and consulting is a skill set that you teach or that you learn through interaction, right, with the other people. So it's just one of those things that we just maybe need some one-on-one.
Yeah. And we also offer the opportunity to kind of pause and reschedule your course. So if you're really stuck, if you feel like and sometimes life happens, like you just can't commit the time because something else is really taking priority over the time that you wanted to put behind it. So you can reschedule. Have you had in your course people that actually had started before and are now joining your course, kind of a second take? Did you have students like that in the past?
I've had students do the second take. I haven't
Yeah.
had the same student, so I've had a
Oh, yeah.
student with
Oh,
a
that would have
different
been fun. Yeah.
instructor, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But I think in that aspect, it's just we need to commit to that individual. They're trying again. They've committed. They're willing to continue their learning. So it's just one of those things that you have to take a mental note and commit to them. And they're
Okay.
so much more appreciative. They're much more helpful and collaborative with the rest of the class. So I feel like if you take your passion and you display it, people are gonna eat it up. They're gonna live it and breathe it, and they're gonna do the same thing, right? It's all
Yeah.
about setting examples.
Yeah, that's right. So let's go back to you. So your father really instilled that interest in computer science, and then you decide to go to college, right? So you really went the what I would call the traditional way of learning computer science. You learn Java, you learn networking,
Yeah.
and then first job is like, okay, that doesn't. I mean, that probably helped. Actually, tell me how much, because we like to bash on computer science degrees because we say, and some of it is true, right? We say, well, the skills you're going to learn there are really academic skills, not so practical, and you really have to learn another layer of how to build a website and things like that. But tell me, how did you get from that computer science knowledge that you acquired in college, and how did you then apply that, academic understanding to your learning of Bootstrap? And how much of a jump was it? I mean, you talked about doing night longs
Yeah,
learning. Like, how
yeah.
different would it have been if you didn't have that computer science background?
No different, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And let's be
Hey,
real.
you see,
Let's
I
be
tried to give some rope to the computer science degree. I'm a computer
yeah.
science graduate.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
all right, all right.
yeah. And let's be genuine. College is about commitment. It's about showing up, following through, committing to an end goal and doing it, right? And the same thing with the boot camp, right? It's just kind of a longer process, but all the stuff that I learned in terms of front end dev, I learned on the fly. And the like you talk about Java, we use like FTP servers, and we worked on 2008 Windows Server R2, right? So like that stuff. And by the time I graduated college and got into the field, we were in AWS web services. You know what I mean? Like it was just the space of knowledge gap is just so big. Now, I don't want to tell everybody to not go for a computer science degree, right? Like it's always going to be a positive thing, and you're going to walk away with something that you'll learn, right? But I think that there's this gap of like what an academic degree is and what's in the real world, and also what's not taught as in being in a business, right? And there's more than just coding, it's consulting. It's, learning different technologies. It's being resourceful. It's being, driven and knowing where to find the answers, right? Not in a textbook.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you watch a ton of videos on YouTube and you'll see that the number one answer as to what you need to know to become a developer is you need to know how to Google, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
There's another question here that's pretty interesting. We haven't gotten that question in quite a while. Thank you, Hoang, for bringing it up. How do you handle burnout? Oh, have
So
you experienced burnout yourself, I guess? And then how do
yeah,
you?
absolutely. So I actually have my own business. It's called Code Vibes Consulting. I work
Oh,
full
that's
time at
cool.
Sublime Media, and I teach part time at New Camp, and I'm an HOA president for our board. So I handle a lot of stuff. Huang is actually a React instructor with you guys. He was my React class. He works with me at Sublime, but
Oh,
he's my buddy. But you know, you have to have the ability with working remotely about setting barriers, right? So back in the day when we went to jobs, we got in the car, we drove, but there's this mentality where we got ready, right? We got ready for work, we got dressed. Now we have to set those barriers internally via remote. So my machine and everything is located in my office, and there's a door. When I'm done with work, it powers down. Like I legitimately shut off everything and don't come into the office. And that's kind of like how I set that barrier. With Slack notifications and instant messaging, you just have to not look, right? You can't look. There's
or you
this,
disable them.
yeah, you can
Yeah,
snooze them,
yeah, you
you
snooze
know?
them. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's like, it's like with texting where you get a text message or you get a Slack message, you immediately have this need to respond, right? And the idea of if you think about the history of instant messaging, the idea is that you get back to it at your convenience, but it's changed since remote, right? So we really have to be conscious of our mentality and what we're spending on it. So then that way, whatever energy that we have, we use it in a positive manner, right? Because we're limited. We only have so much energy. So we got to
Do you
reharness it.
do you still sometimes pull one-nighters to work on a project, write some code? Yeah, you do,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently did a React website for myself, just revamping my portfolio.
Yeah.
And I calculated it was about 140 hours. I had to do it in about 2 weeks,
Yeah.
because I was really wanted it to get done. So when it's stuff like that, I have a very strict schedule. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. I go to the gym at 5. I get back from the gym at 8. I code not for work from 8 to 10. Then I work from 10 to 5. Then New Camp from 5 to 6. And then
Jeez.
HOA from 6 to 7.
So that question makes a ton of sense now.
Yeah.
That's a crazy schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, really appreciate all the time you're taking with us.
Yeah. I mean,
and
absolutely.
we have a few questions, but we have also Nikki here that's joining us live. So, Nikki, let me actually bring you on stage and have you ask your question.
Can you hear me first?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I have a question. My nephew does your program, and I want to do it too, but I don't know anything about it. What can you tell me?
Wow.
Okay, like
Okay.
for example,
Yeah.
I took a class through my local college through Pitt because I'm in Pittsburgh, and it was instructed to be like a beginner's course. I dropped out within a week because I had no idea what I was doing.
And have you learned coding a little bit on your own since then? Like, did you go to did you take a Udemy course, for example, to kind of see how, how it worked?
I haven't. I don't know how to do that.
So the very first thing that I will recommend you do is spend some time online, Udemy, for example, Coursera, buy a $10 course on, the beginning of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or watch a few, YouTube videos, like very beginner, and see if you can follow that and actually try to complete that first course. Don't take something that's telling you you're gonna need to put like 300 hours in, right? Because that's going to be overwhelming. But take a course, I would say that's going to be like 20 hours, something like that. And I will start there first, because that's going to give you kind of a little bit of practice and understanding of what it takes. If you feel like that's not good enough for you because you're lacking the support, you're lacking the community, you could actually join the 4-week web development bootcamp that we offer. It is for beginners, but it does expect you to know your way around the computer, right? So Victor talked about the command line. You're not going to do that much command line, but you're going to use a code editor. And I mean, most people go through it and they're happy with it. I will try that, and see how it goes. That could be a nice way. To answer your question, it's part-time. So if you have a work, if you work today, you don't have to quit your job. And yeah, it's kind of a low commitment, 4 weeks to see what it takes, see what it is. And you'll see if you like coding, but you'll also see if you like New Camp, right? That's going to allow you to test us as well, and see if you like the way we teach. What is your nephew saying?
He's a gamer, so I'm assuming he's either going for coding or I don't know.
Is he encouraging you to join or something like that?
I mean, I heard about it and I looked into it because here's my thing. I don't believe in going to school. I do, but I don't believe in being in massive amounts of debt. You guys are
Yeah,
affordable, and
I'm with you on that.
that's what's nice about it.
That speaks to the core of what we're trying to do. Not put people in debt or put people at risk,
Right.
while giving everything we can to help you out. So give it a go. I will still recommend you try online first. See if you find something that really kind of works for you. Low commitment, a few hours of code. See if you can follow, a tutorial, even a one-page tutorial. Like, can you go through that? That level of practice is going to help you before you
Did they
join a
have that
bootcamp.
on YouTube, like on how to
Oh yeah,
code?
yeah. You have plenty of, and maybe someone actually. I'm sure someone on the chat will actually have links to offer. But yeah, there's a ton of videos on YouTube. Look for, HTML, CSS tutorial on YouTube or on Google. Look for one pager or, a series of 5 videos and see how you like it.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
it was great talking to you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
That's fun. I always like when someone join and, make it real. All right. So yeah, the burnout, man. Yeah, you put yourself on your you put a ton on your plate.
I
And
do.
I was saying we're really lucky to have you and teaching the students. There's a ton of questions that just popped up right after this. So let's see if we can actually start to answer them, and then we'll get back to you. Do you guys help with career placement? Yes, we do for the longer boot camps. We have built-in career placement if you register for the longer boot camps, career coaching course, career development course, LinkedIn Premium. You'll find all that on our website. But then we also just launched the Job Hunting Bootcamp. That's in addition. And it's 4 weeks in a classroom with an instructor where we really prepare you for, I mean, we were also preparing you before, but we really kind of put you in a box for 4 weeks, and now you're going to be prepared and ready for job interviews. So that's the other thing. It's separate. So if you don't have to take the job hunting course to get career services. You just can have that after your full stack or Python bootcamp. Okay, you probably know Justin.
From Jimmy G, huh? He said that because my hat's red. I get it all the time.
That's right. That's right. Interesting. I read on Course Report that New Camp wasn't great with placement. Is that true? We are honest with placement, I will say, and we are not over-promising. And so the deal is, I think we're measuring if you apply your skills in your job. If you've changed your job or if you haven't changed your job, are you applying the coding skills that we just taught you? And we are not trying to mess up with the data. And so right now, if we go to our website, actually, you'll see how many people answered that survey. And we probably stand at 70% something. Let me actually put it up. If you go to job outcomes, career services, we stand at 74% after 6 months, 80% after 9 months. We call it the job skills rate. Are you employed? Are you applying your skills? Let me actually share that. I've discovered that I can share my screen lately. I kind of like it. There we go. So 74% after 6 months, 80% after 9, 66 after 3, graduation rate at 70%. So I wouldn't say that we are not great. I'll say we're pretty transparent with the outcome and how we measure it. And I will caution anyone that says they have a 90% placement rate. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, let's get back to you. And then there's something happening on the LinkedIn chat. I need to go check it out.
Yeah.
I guess I don't have it open anymore. Oh, I guess it's gone. All right. So you graduated from college, and I checked out your LinkedIn profile. You didn't get into the tech field right away, did you?
No.
So tell us about, that journey from graduation to getting that first job at Sublime.
Yeah.
And how did you get from pretty much you had the back-end experience. I mean, you did dabble in Java, but you were talking about Cisco, networking, everything operations. And then you got into a video production company that's looking for a front end. So tell us about what happened after college. Like, why didn't you join the tech industry right there? And then how did you get from back end to front end? How challenging was that?
Yeah, I can chat about it. So when I was going into college, I obviously had to pay my way through school. So I worked at retail. I worked at a company called DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse. And I was just a part-time guy. And they just thought I was really good at sales. And so they decided to promote me to a store manager. So I moved up the ranks really fast in that retail industry. And then I got brought into Finish Line. It's another shoe company. And I was, doing really good in sales. I was awarded a lot of recognitions while I was going through school. But as soon as I graduated college, there was like a couple of months gap where I just was putting out job application. And I put out a job application for this company called Philip J. Bourne Incorporated. And it was for a position called account manager / IT guy. And so because I wasn't sure about front end dev yet, I just knew I wanted to go into computer science, right? And so they hired me and I worked there for about 3 months. And I did all the networking, the IT, the setting up Active Directory and permissions. And I quickly realized that I was at the will of everybody's problems. And so when I was like, man, this is fantastic. But one, I don't see growth here and scalability in this business. And two, I want something that I could put a stamp on that's mine, like that I could create from the ground up, right? And so a buddy of mine, his name was Andrew, who actually attended New Camp and went through your full stack program, who also worked at Sublime Media. He reached out to me because he was my buddy in college, and we used to do every
that makes
class
all
together,
sense now.
right? So now he said, hey, Vic, Sublime is hiring. Come on down here. So I went down there. I did the interview. And I will tell you, because I will always remember this, I've always been a good interviewer, but I walked into that building and I walked out and I thought I bombed the interview. I was terrible. And I remember one of the developers that they asked me a really silly question. They said, what is your process for problem solving? And I just was like, I Google a lot of stuff. And then I quickly realized that that's not really a valid answer in an interview, right? So, but it was, they hired me. Right?
I would have bombed that question as well. Yeah.
And so the owner came in and he was like, I want to know about your HTML and your CSS stuff. And I come, like I said before, I come from the life of you show up, shirt and tie, paper resume, call back every couple days, bug the heck out of them. But he said, what is your experience? And I said, well, I don't really have a lot of experience, but I'm motivated. I'm willing to learn. I'll do whatever I need to do. And so I think from that specific comment for the audience, they just need to take away that, because there's a lot of comments about like career placement and help, but really at the end of the day, your success boils down to your drive or what you're willing to sacrifice or what you're willing to put in. And so hard work does not go unnoticed. And that is coding, right? Like you're committed, you have to learn on your own, you have to, do solutions on your own, right? So I think that that's a really good like skill set and a really good concept to think about if you want to get into the world of development, because everybody at work comes to me for their problems. Right.
So what's really crazy is, so you did graduate from computer science.
Yeah.
But then you joined as well. So to your point, you joined New Camp as a student.
Yes, I did.
So
I did.
And did you feel like you couldn't learn the stuff like self-taught on your own? Like, why did you was it because your friend Andrew kind of said, hey, just join? And
so like I did some bootstrap and HTML and stuff, but then we started, so I work for an e-learning company. So my official title is an e-learning developer / front end. We work in a custom Vue.js framework, so you need to know front end stuff, but a lot of it is like adult learning theory. So it's kind of interesting concept, but that's kind of like why I wanted to get involved with New Camp, because when I was a student there, I was like, I see an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a very passionate individual. I've got experience of late nights. And I even in my application to interview with you guys, I said, I do not want anybody else to deal with what I had to go through, because it's so nice to have people that support you and have a positive community around you. I want to be a part of that, right? And, I talked a little bit about how development is not social work. There's no like you're helping the world change, but it's kind of a two-edged sword, because there are things that you do as a developer that really do change the world, right? The newest, hottest, latest, greatest is accessibility and 502 compliance, right? And at my business at Sublime, when I was brought in, they didn't have anything like that. So I made that business process. And that's kind of like where you feel like you're making a difference or you're changing the world, right? You're providing a good experience for everybody.
No, that's so true. Let's actually answer some questions, and then I want to get back to what you do exactly at Sublime. I mean, you've talked about, building websites, accessibility. I really want to understand the job, your day-to-day job, I will say. But let's take a few questions here. One, I think from Eric, and there's a little bit of drama, I think, on the chat. I'm not following everything, but I hope it's okay out there. Let me know if we need to do some moderation or not. I'm not quite sure. So Eric, and maybe you can help with that, Vic. I'm currently in the Web Fundamentals Bootcamp, but don't know what to attend next. Backend, front end, full stack. Reason is I've heard a lot that there's not a lot of people getting jobs in full stack. I know I have my answer, my opinion on that, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So for sure, if you don't have any experience in front end, then do the Web Fundamentals class. It's literally going to teach you the bare bones and the structure of what the job would kind of entail, right? And then through my experience, these terms, full stack and front end, they get thrown around quite a bit. But in my experience in the career field, you don't just jump out and become a full stack engineer. You usually are a front end developer, and then you slowly, gradually move into the full stack. I'm not saying that you can't, because there's plenty of people out there that will prove me wrong, but it's just that's the norm, or that's the average workflow, at least in my experience,
that makes
my
sense.
observations.
I agree.
What I would recommend is I would recommend taking the fundamentals boot camp. And if it makes you smile, if you have a good time, then I would enroll in the full stack. And the reason why I'd enroll in the full stack is, one, you get a discount. We all like saving money, right? So one, you get a little bit of a discount, and two, you're already committed for that time. It's just like another extra little bit, right? It's just one extra little push. And just to remind everyone, like, the content is yours after the class, right? You can go back and look at that content. So if you do feel like that concepts are not grasping, or you feel like that maybe there's some other stuff that you want to go back and look at, you can absolutely do that. And me as an instructor, I keep in contact with my students on LinkedIn. I help them outside of New Camp. They message me about, their job placements and about advice and about new things that are going on. There's been a couple of students and a couple of instructors that I forwarded their stuff to HR in my business. So it's really about the community, right? And about establishing that presence. So
yeah, no, and I think you're right, especially if you like the web dev fundamentals, because it's very much a front end type of experience. It's going to tell you if you like front end, and then by extension, to some extent, if you like full stack. The point, I've heard someone talk about, are there enough jobs in full stack versus jobs doing backend? And one answer I've heard recently is there's actually a ton of people who engage in full stack, and not so many actually in backend. And there may be, no, I don't have data on that. There may be more jobs available in the backend space because fewer people are actually learning backend. Now, that's an answer. That's not, I kind of made sense a little bit to me. You may want to take that as a grain of salt. What I will recommend you do is do a search on Google, Indeed, LinkedIn. Look for the positions in your area. Search for backend, see how many pop up. Search for full stack or front end, see how many pop up, and make your decision based on that. Like, what's your local market like? And then, because you'll have a better chance finding a job locally, then go for that, I will say. I think we're still talking about Dia making a comment on LinkedIn here, and Keith Test talking about gatekeeping.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah. I think we have a ton of, actually, if you go back to our previous Campfire, I've interviewed a ton of instructors, very diverse community. I encourage everyone to go check out those Campfires with students and instructors alike. And I think we have a pretty diverse community out there. And I don't believe we do gatekeeping or discrimination. Check it out. Check those interviews out if you want. That'll be a great test. Okay. Very, and I cannot find it. I tried to look for that conversation. I don't know where it is. Why are you doing that? Anyway, all right, let's go back on track. So what's your day job? So Sublime is a video production company, isn't it?
We're e-learning. There's two
E-learning. That's
businesses.
right.
Yeah, we're e-learning. So we just like New Camp, when COVID happened, the business skyrocketed, right? Because we do electronic learning, and we do mainly corporate training, but we do a lot of adult learning theory. We study something called the ADDIE model. Well, I don't know if you're familiar, but it's about it. The ADDIE model basically means that you analyze, you design and develop, you implement that design and develop, and then you evaluate what the action was, and then you go back to the beginning. You analyze, you design. And I think that's probably why I'm such a successful instructor with New Camp, is because I literally make training from anything from harassment to proper ergonomics. There's all sorts of fun stuff, right? To knowing about like a device, like a cellular phone or something, and understanding it, and it goes out to retail stores to corporate to everywhere. So we do that, and I use multiple things. I use some authoring tools. I use custom frameworks, so I'm very dynamic in that aspect. And the developers at our company are unique because we don't just code. We see a project all the way through from front to end. We work with designers, and we collaborate with, instructional designers and animators and all sorts of fun other project teams. And we put together this product that is just like amazing, right? It really sets the tone. So that's kind of like my day-to-day job. I can't talk too much about the companies because I have NDAs.
Yeah. But it's a nice mix of consulting, code building, like website development, and also building practice around that, right? How many people, if you can answer, how many people are kind of in the coding space working with you?
About 6.
Okay, so it's a nice team.
Yeah, so small team though, small team. So it's different working at a big business versus a small business, right? Like working at REI, you'd work at like one component, and you'd work on that singular component. Maybe it's a carousel component, or maybe it's a accordion component, but that's your job. That's it. That's what you do, right? And you only do that. And then when you're done, you push up your changes. At my business, it's very interesting because you consult and you kind of see the wireframes, and you build the app, and then you test it, and you got to implement the 502 compliance, and you got to be educated in like all those things, right? So from design to UIX to accessibility to development and to deployment, right? So, and then in addition to all that, like smaller business processes, because when you're in a small business, you have to kind of own a lot more stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm checking out the comments, and it's going wild. There's there's a conversation around diversity, racism, how to welcome minorities in the community. I want to see if I can engage actually in that conversation versus ignore it. I don't know how to, though. Let me say this. We really truly want to be open to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we absolutely do not want to discriminate. I love to understand if there's a foundation to the feedback, if there's examples of activities or things that we can actually address. Because if there are, I definitely would like to know and work to fix them. So there's a few accusations, and if you please avoid accusing individuals. You can, in some ways, you can attack New Camp and tell us what we need to fix, and that'll be fair and game. If you can avoid attacking one another, that'll be awesome. So let's see if I can find something that I can respond to. Or maybe, Victor, do you see the chat yourself?
Yeah, I'm looking through the chat for sure. So, someone had commented, Laura Chung, I found it somewhere over here. She had said something. I gotta go find it now. It's kind of exploding up now. Okay. Thank you for your comment, Drake. I appreciate it. I appreciate your positive reinforcement there. Manny has a question here. For the complete software engineering bootcamp, I know it goes web fundamentals first, then backend. Is there a reason for that? The reason because web fundamentals is a much easier concept for me to palette on a plate than backend stuff. Backend stuff is very logic based, meaning that it's very thinking. You got to think a lot and analyze a lot. And a lot of people out are more visual learners. And so with the fundamentals, it's just about bite-sized pieces of information, right? We as adults, we have to recognize that our learning styles are diverse. But there's one thing that we can all agree upon, and that is that if you look at coding as one single thing, it's overwhelming, right? And there's so many languages, JavaScript, Java, right? And there's libraries of JavaScript, there's HTML, there's all sorts of stuff. So really, you got to take baby steps And with those baby steps, the fundamentals is going to be that first initial baby step. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's probably why it's set up that way.
And then the backend, the Python bootcamp, and you actually have the option to choose one or the other. By the way, when you register, we actually prompt you to choose: do you want to follow on with backend? And typically, it's if you have really zero programming experience, because backend is going to spend a little bit more time with Python on programming fundamentals, loops, arrays, some algorithmic questions. Or you can go straight to full stack, because then it's also an interesting connection between the 4 weeks web dev, that's front end, and then you continue on with front end with Bootstrap. So it's kind of a logical progression. I want to comment on the initial comment. I think that Dia, I think who was a former instructor of ours, made, and I think it's not displayed anymore. But the comment, I remember it vividly, had two elements to it. First one, it was disparaging of new camps' work conditions, I think, and pay grades. And second, it was an advertisement for our competitors. It didn't feel genuine in some ways. They probably expressed genuinely his discontent with work conditions, and I love to understand that better. But the second part of recommending, competition didn't feel very genuine. I think that was the beginning of the thread, and I think those posts are gone from LinkedIn at this time. So I don't know if that helps. Where are we now?
Yeah, I mean, as a student with New Camp, I looked at other prices, right? And there was boot camps that ranged from $5,000 to $25,000, and the $25,000 ones were the ones that were like, we're going to help you get a job, right? But I think there's some unique principles and concepts with New Camp, and that is, again, you are responsible for your own success. You're only going to get as far as you're willing to get. And two, that the price of the New Camp, when in comparison to other boot camps, is extremely competitive. Like, it is way better of a value, right? And the truth is like, you could go on YouTube and you could learn this stuff and you could be self-motivated. That's how I did it, in the beginning, right? But I think there's also some nice positive reinforcement with structure, with community, with feedback. There's a lot of talk these days about imposter syndrome and about
that's
people
huge.
that don't really believe in themselves. And ever since COVID, especially, the self-deprecation has skyrocketed, where you kind of question yourself, whether it's physical body images, whether it's coding or education, there's everything. So I think
Did you experience that yourself? Did you experience the imposter syndrome yourself?
Yeah,
at what
absolutely.
Point?
I did I did at the interview at Sublime when I thought I bombed it, right? I did 3 months in, when I was ripping my hair out every single night, working till 11. And I'll tell you guys, I don't want to say it is impossible to get rid of, because that's not true. It's definitely possible to get rid of, but everybody experiences it, and you are not alone in that, right? Like, we have all been there and we have all had to deal with that. It's just about knowing and reading your own mind and knowing when to, take a mental break or sit back. And I would argue and encourage you guys to reach out to your community, reach out to your friend base, reach out to your mentors, your peers. People are here for you. That's what the community is about, right? Is we can all make an impact together, So I would definitely encourage that.
Thank you. We have a question from Laura here. How do you maintain work-life balance with a full-time job and New Camp instruction, and while you were a student? I don't think you were a student, but please let us know how you do that.
Yeah, it's a schedule, right? It's sticking to the schedule. I wake up every day. I use Windows, so there's a little notepad thing it's called sticky notes application, but it's just a little notepad looking thing that's on your monitor. And I just quickly take 10 to 20 minutes and bullet list things out. What do I want to do today, right? There's lots of applications out there that help you keep and stay organized. Trello is one where you can kind of move stuff around, but you get a visual indication of tasks that need to be done. And there's a lot of important people in history that have created kind of workflows like that. Recently, I've been using something called the Eisenhower Square. And the Eisenhower Square is an interesting concept. Basically, helps you prioritize it. You do decide, delegate, and delete. So you have the ability to prioritize really urgent tasks. And then you have the ability to kind of like nice to haves. And so you can tackle stuff in a very strategic manner. So I think it's partially is really organization is key to success. Like you know, mentally thinking about what you want to accomplish in that day versus just, you know, hitting it and rolling with the punches, right? I think that's how I probably stay on schedule the best. And I'll be honest, I don't always stay on schedule. But it's one of those things that you just got to be committed.
Yeah, very true. Adrian is asking you a question about your interview. How important was data structures and algorithm for your interview?
For my specific interview, we didn't have coding exercises. It was more of a does he jive with the team? Does he not jive with the team? The company that I work for is amazing with training. So I really was brought on pretty well, and they had a lot of leeway when it comes to, you know, letting me kind of learn at my own pace. With that being said, though, it depends on the job or the role that you're applying for. Obviously, if you're applying for a back-end role, data structures and algorithms are probably going to be one of the top 3 things that you're probably going to want to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, just to let the folks know, I placed Hong Lee and Keith test on apparently YouTube as that feature to actually your post for 5 minutes from chatting. I would ask both of you if you could not attack one another on the chat. I don't think it's healthy for either of you. You probably don't know one another. You may want to go have a drink and have a chat and really have deep conversation versus, you know, attacking one another on a YouTube chat. So yeah, you're going to be able to chat again in 5 minutes. If you wouldn't mind not making it personal, that'd be great. All right. Well, thank you, Drake. Thanks for the feedback. Full Stack Academy, I guess. Appreciate that. This today has been so wild. Oh, yeah. Wow. Hey, you know what? 1 out of 30 shows. It's not bad, right? I mean, that's the very first show where it's been so wild. Interesting. Hey, should we talk about your microphone? It's a special kind of microphone. When we were testing it, you said it's a singing microphone.
You're gonna blow me up, aren't you? Yes, I have a Yeti.
Let's try to light up the room.
I can't sing, but I did at one point in my life own a record label because I am a man of many commitments.
You own the record label?
Yeah, it's my own record label. It's self-created. It's not like it's got millions of viewers, right?
But come on, just being able to say it. I wish I could say that as well, you know.
It was called Lyrically Inclined Productions. I did it back in, I don't know, 2010, 2011, where there's a company that came out called SoundCloud. And SoundCloud was a platform that you could be a nobody and produce music and get a lot of views, right? It's like when eBay first hit the internet and everybody was like, oh, the market's bigger than the newspaper.
Do you have a link that you want to share to song that we could listen?
Oh, I don't know if it's really that appropriate.
Okay.
It's like a rap song, you know?
I listen to rap every day. So yeah, that would be fine. If you want to send me the link on private chat, I don't think you can type in the chat yourself, right? So send me the link in private chat and I'll paste it. If you have any link for Spotify as well. So you are producing your own music?
Yeah, I know how to. So I make beats. I can make like loops and stuff like that. I use Apple software. Unfortunately, I use something called GarageBand. It's pretty simple. And then I would take those loops and beats and I would just lay them out on a track and I would just rap to it, right? So it was just another fun hobby for me. I don't know, like, as you guys all know, I'm a man of many commitments. I was also sponsored by a car racing company at one point or the other. So I've always had multiple vehicles, turboed cars, go really fast. There is a company that's local over here called Daily Driven. Daily Driven sponsored me for a couple of years before COVID. And
Oh,
So that was
cool.
kind of cool too. But
Lisa
yeah,
is
I
asking
can.
you a question on this.
Did you play Rock Band? I tried. I definitely played Rock Band, definitely, and Guitar Hero too.
As the singer?
As a singer, no. I will never ever say I'm a good singer.
Well, but you sing. Part of me makes me want to ask you to sing right now.
No.
So you sing, right?
No, I
But
don't. I
you've been
don't sing
singing
at
on
all.
those records, right?
I rap, hip
Oh, you
hop.
rap. Well,
Yeah, hip hop on those records.
all right.
So
So I want, yeah, send me the link on the chat. I want to. We all want.
you want to expose me of my
No, we want to bring
teens?
you views and I don't know, royalties. Maybe I don't know. How does it
Royalties.
work on SoundCloud?
Yeah. I should rap about coding. That's what I should do. Yeah, we'll send you a private link.
So what else? I wanted to also ask you about your background.
Yeah. What do you want to know? Ethnicity
well, tell me actually where what is it? Where is it? What is that place? And at what point in the methodology is it happening?
Oh, the Star Wars background. I thought you meant like my history of my life.
No. Your actual your picture.
Yeah, it's just the background is the Death Star, except it's been crashed, and it's in the newer Star Wars movie. It's in the scene where the Death Star is out in the water, and Kylo Ren and Rey are out there battling, duking it out, and the Death Star that's poking out of the water. I used to have another background that was a Death Star, but it was like all black, and everybody said that, I was just too black because I have like the black beard and the black hair. So it just looked like a face. I was just like this floating face walking around the screen.
Oh, but so hold on. Are you doing cosplay?
I do cosplay.
No way.
Yeah, I do.
Well.
Yeah, Kylo Ren actually. Yeah. I could let me see if I can pull up a photo.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I do cosplay.
And some people are joking that I'm going to be inundated in my inbox. Let me see. No, not yet. Lucky me. Okay, so that's the Insta. Oh yeah, cool. All right, let me copy that.
There's an Instagram link, but I gotta find the cosplay.
And do you have a link for the song?
So here's like a link of some Star Wars cosplay with some friends.
Oh, cool.
And I will show you some songs. I don't know. I made these when I was like really, really young. Now I'm 30 and I'm an old man, and we buy condos and watch.
You're not allowed to say that, because if 30 is old, I'm prehistoric or something.
Let's see here. There's a SoundCloud link to a song.
Perfect.
There's some Instagram. Yeah, I like to cosplay. I'm very excited. We're going to Comic-Con this year again. Yay.
Oh, San Diego, right?
Yeah, it's been no. We're doing the one in Seattle, just Emerald City.
Okay, the one in Seattle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but it's been shut down for the last couple of years because of COVID. So I'll be doing Mandalorian cosplay this year.
Cool.
So we'll be walking around in the bounty hunter suits.
All right. Hey, Victor, it's been a real pleasure to have you here. This was a wild campfire, but we stayed the course. I hope people still got to enjoy learning about your story, learning about your journey, appreciating your answers to those questions. If you are enrolled in the Full Stack Bootcamp, and in the Pacific region, you may actually get the chance to be taught by Victor, and that will be awesome.
Yay!
Do you have the link to join the call? Yeah, but we're going to close now, so that's going to be too late, Eric. Next time, join us next Friday. Chris said, this was crazy. Yes, it was. And I don't know that maybe I haven't seen all of it. I think I may have missed some of it. So yeah, I don't know that I want to go back and check. We'll see. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'll just say it for anyone listening. Let's be civil. Let's not attack one another. If you want to attack us, attack New Camp, bring your point, your arguments. If there's something broken, we'll want to fix it. But unless you really know the person on the other end of YouTube, you really don't know the person. You know the idea of the person, or whatever your state of mind is at that moment in time. So I don't think there's a point to attack one another on YouTube or social media live like that. So yeah. Again, thank you so much, Victor. Have a great
Yeah, thanks for the
weekend.
opportunity. Thank you.
All
And thanks
right.
everyone for listening. I'll
Take
talk to you
care.
later.
Yeah.
Bye.